Hello and welcome to Cover Story. Today I'm going to take you back 6 months back to New Year's Eve, a time when all of us were celebrating the dawn of a new year filled with hope and dreams. A family woke up to the most horrible and horrific new year of their lives. I'm talking about the Arora family, and let me tell you their story. On that same night, on the night of 31st December and 1st January this year, a deadly fire broke out on the third floor of a senior care home in Delhi's Greater Kailash area, run by the Antara Assisted Care Services. It took the lives of two elderly ladies who were residing at that time on the third floor. These were the 91-year-old Kamla Kumar, who was bedridden in room 302, and the 86-year-old Kanchan Arora, who could walk, but she needed the help of a walking stick. She also needed assistance for her daily activities. 13 others were rescued by the staff, fire attendants, and police personnel. A charge sheet has since been filed by the Delhi police, which is now in the courts, but it lists only one accused, Baba Sahib, who is the grandson of one of the dead. What caused the fire? Apparently on New Year's Eve, Baba Kumar arrived to spend New Year's with his grandmother. He came armed with a bag full of candles, balloons, halogen balloons, ribbons, and all kinds of decorations. These were put up on the wooden TV cabinet in the room, on the trolley that, grandmother's food. It was put up on the floor, all over the room. These huge pillar candles were put up, which did not have a base or anything, no candle stand. Along with the decorations, ribbons were hanging on the walls. He was alone in the room with his grandmother. He had hired someone from outside. Shrishti Chaudhary was hired by Baba Kumar to help with his grandmother. When Shrishti arrived at 8:30 p.m., she saw all the candles being lit, and she was told by Baba Sahib, who stayed with his grandmother till 2:30 a.m., do not put out the candles. Even at that time, Shrishti is recorded in the charge sheet as saying that one of the ribbons had trailed dangerously close to the one of the candle stands and nearly caught fire. And he said, sorry, not candle stands, but the candles. He had told her, do not put out the candles. She apparently listened to him. At 2:30, he went home, Baba Kumar. He called up his mother, and meanwhile, Shrishti changed the grandmother, Kamla Kumar, got her to bed. She herself went to the bathroom at 4:30. She says, I heard a loud bang. As she tried to open the door could not open. Finally, when she did get out, she saw the wooden cabinet had caught fire. She tried to put out the fire with the water from the urine pan. When that didn't happen, she's saying she looked out of the window, tried to call for help. She finally went out. And while going out, she saw the room 301. She says she peeped into it. She did not see Kanchan Arora on her bed. She presumed she's in the washroom. And she ran down to get help. Meanwhile, the fire broke out. Residents have said that they actually got up around 4:30 a.m. to cry, "Bhago, bhago, aag hai." When Shrishti returned to the third floor with the guards and people from Antara, they found that there was fire in the doorway of room 301, which is where Kanchan Arora was. They even saw her walking, but that time she had already engulfed with flames. She was walking with the help of a walking stick, and she just collapsed on the help desk on the third floor. Kanchan Arora has 4 children. They all live abroad. In fact, this is not the first time Kanchan Arora has stayed here. She stayed there even 6 months earlier. She had just shifted for a month, the month of December. It was cold. She needed help with her daily activities and medicines, which is why she went to Antara. One of her sons, Vineet, was coming to India to be with his mother on New Year's Day. He landed at 9:30 a.m. to get this horrific news. Vineet's sister Mandakini, I think, was the first one who was told of what has happened at Antara. I'm not sure whether it was Antara who informed her, or one of the passerbys or well-wishers who told her there is a fire at Antara. But joining me on the show are both Vineet and Mandakini. Welcome to this conversation, and I'm really sorry to be having you here at such a tragic time. But I think this is a story that needs to get out. We need to know, what happened that night, and what all you are dealing with. And we do hope that you do get some kind of closure and speedy justice. But Mandakini, what happened? You've heard me narrate the incidents, but how? I believe you were the first person who was
Thank
called.
you, Priya, but I was not told my mother had died. So it's fine. I'm happy to appear crying. As I said earlier, this is our lives. So I got a call at 6:37 in the morning. The doctor calls me saying, "Where is your mother? She's not in her room." And I was in New York, so 6:30 in the morning, India time. "Where's your mother? She's not in her room." And I said, what's going on? And she said, "There's a fire. Everyone is downstairs, but ma'am is not here." That was it. Nothing after that. Then the horror began. I mean, you could only imagine our family's horror that began from that moment. 45 minutes, we did not know what was going on because no one picked up the phone. So where's Ma? We're trying her phone, we're trying the doctor's phone. This poor brother Vineet is on the flight about to go and visit Ma. He was on the flight going to land. My sister and brother, the other ones were here in the US. No answer. I had to ask a friend, can you please go and see what's going on? Udhar aag lag gayi. Ma's not picking up her phone. And then he gave the phone to a constable who said, bad news, ma'am nahi rahi. I hung up. I couldn't believe it. I called back. I said, are you sure? And he asked for her name and he asked for her room number. And he said that she's gone. That was it. The rest, Vineet knows what happened after that. But I just have one thing to say. We want accountability and answers. How does it happen that our mother, Kanchan Arora, went into Antara on the 2nd of December, 2022, for 2 months? She went in whole and healthy and excited. As you said, she was excited to be going there to escape the cold. She liked going to Antara. How did it happen that she went in like that? And then on the 1st of January, what's left of her, you can see in the charge sheet. Oh, she fell. There were parts of her by the nursing station on the 3rd floor. एक शरीर के बुरी तरह भुने हुए हिस्से were found in the corridor. Why was my mother alone? These bits of her were found, roasted bits, with a stick lying beside her. How does that happen? Where is the accountability? I mean, we can come to this later, but what happened? What were the systemic failures, or were there no systems in place? Because it can only be one of these two. How did our beautiful, whole, and healthy mother go from checking in like that to Antara to coming out like this? Vineet knows what happened after that.
Really sorry, Mandakini, to make you relive that night again, that day.
No, I mean, that's our life. It's an unending horror. I'll just say it is an unending horror. And we can't even imagine what our mother went through, walking with difficulty, trying to get out all alone. But there was staff. Where were the Antara staff? We know from the charge sheet. They were sleeping. They were in the rooms on the 3rd floor. Where were they? Why was she alone? Why were body parts of our mother found all alone, fallen in the corridor by the nursing station, which is supposed to have 24/7 attendance?
Antara have told us little or nothing about exactly what happened, and we'll come to that later. But I arrived in Delhi on the morning of the 1st. I'd missed all of the messages that were exchanged between my siblings. I was met at the airport and informed that there was a fire in Antara overnight. Ma had died, and that was it. So I had to decide what to do next. There were rumors that Ma's body was in Safdarjung or Ames. As it turned out, there was virtually no body left because she'd been burnt at Antara. So showed up at Antara close to 11, met people from the police, investigating officer, some other people, who confirmed that Ma had died, like Mandy said, room number and name. Hung around there for a while. There were lots of news TV cameras covering it, and that was probably the only time they've covered it on that 1st and 2nd day. There was someone who came to me who I didn't know, and he shepherded me away from where the media were. There was apparently, Antara could confirm this if they have the inclination, but there was a legal advisor and a PR advisor on site managing operations for them. By this time, no one has spoken to us, the family, that Ma has died. Actually, till date, they haven't apologized for their part the courts will decide if they have a part. But so this gentleman came and shepherded me away from the glare. I asked him who he was because I'd never met him before. He didn't give me his name immediately. He said he was a director of a group company. Transpired his name's Kenneth Sanu, and his name is on the MCD license that Antara operate under. So you can viewers can make up their own minds whether this was honest or not, or but then I went and met 2 other people, including the doctor from Antara, who were speechless. They didn't say much. I don't remember anything that they said, but they were virtually silent. After that, I went and there was chaos. So went and stayed close by, went to the police station a few times, saw people coming in and out. They'd kept the workers at the police station for most of the day. The narrative from Antara, so there are two ways, I believe, that when something like this happens, you can deal with it. A company can come to a family of the dead and say, we're really sorry this has happened. We will not rest till we get to the bottom of this, and we will keep you updated at every stage. That's one way of looking at it. The other approach is we cannot say anything. The matter is sub judice, it's with the police. So what's happened, if you connect the dots, from the time the fire started, Antara have virtually not communicated with us. We got an WhatsApp on the 3rd of January that looked to me that it had been written by lawyers with no apology for mother dying in Antara, but deeply, deeply sorry for being so late getting in touch, etc. But we cannot tell you anything because the matter is sub judice. The police since then have treated the fire or how it started as the only important episode. No one has looked at the fact that our mother was alive and well and died. So what is the value of that life? Who is going to try and get justice? Forget us for a second, for our mother. If her life is going to be defined only by the way she died, we have to respect, we believe that she has to get some sort of dignity for the fact that she lived, went in a trusting way and was let down. So this is our battle and this is our life. The police have given, since then, the police have cleared, not necessarily cleared Antara, but there's no question for Antara to be accountable to us for mother having died. The police people, when they speak with me, they say, whatever's happened between you and Antara, that's separate to the case. But that is why we are in the battle that we're in to try and get justice for Kanchan. Sorry, Mandy, you were saying?
Yeah.
No, I was agreeing with everything that you said, because where is the respect for this human life? I mean, if you're in the business of elder care, this is an outfit. This is a facility that is supposed to be state-of-the-art, 5-star, and based on the fees they charge, they're supposed to be top-notch, first-rate. The basic premise, if you're in the business of elder care, is safety of the people on your premises. There's a contract you sign, right? There's a contract where you guarantee them that residents and their visitors are not going to pose any danger to other residents. Because if that happens, the occupancy will be terminated. Visitors are not allowed to bring in anything flammable. You read the charge sheet. It's clear that Antara staff knew what was going on. This had happened on the 24th night, on the 25th night, the same scenario. People
In
knew
fact,
what
yes,
was
I do want to, sorry for interrupting you, tell our viewers that apparently on 24th December, Christmas Eve, this boy, Baba Kumar, actually had the same scenario that happened on 31st, had already taken place on 24th night, same candles, same balloons, and again, those same thick pillar candles, not the ones with candle stands, that at least there is something to break the fire. All that had happened, and at that night there was also a party on New Year's party at Antara, and the manager Keshav Raj, who is quoted in the charge sheet as said he warned Baba Sahib saying ke aap Christmas wali decorations mat karna. So they know that there was a Christmas wali decoration, and after Christmas the sweeper in fact is quoted in the charge sheet as saying he found 2 kilo ke mom, he had to scrape it off the floor. So they already knew that such a danger off the floor of the wooden cabinet, of everything. I'm going to take a quick break and come back to Vineet and Mandakini, but also I do want to tell our viewers, we did reach out to Antara and we have a statement from them. I reached out to them, I asked them if they would like to come, their legal counsel or anybody would like to come on the show. Because the idea here is not to judge, but just as Vineet said, we want the facts. They want to know the answers. They want answers. Anyway, here is the statement from Antara, which I would like to read out. So I'm reading out the statement on behalf of Antara Assisted Care Services. The matter is under investigation by the police authorities, and the Antara Assisted Care Services Limited team cooperated with all the regulatory authorities during the process. The police has now filed a charge sheet in the matter against the person responsible for this unfortunate incident, who happens to be a relative of one of the deceased residents. We express our deepest sympathies to the grieving families affected by the tragic incident, and our thoughts remained with the affected family. This is the statement on behalf of Antara Assisted Care Services. Since then, the police did file a charge sheet in April, but before that, the Arora family had moved a writ petition in the High Court, comprehensive and independent investigation. Now, hearing for this was supposed to come up in April. A day before the hearing was to come up in the High Court, the police charge sheet was filed on 19th April, listing Baba Saheb or Baba Kumar as the main accused. The matter is also listed, the writ petition filed by the Arora family. The matter is listed in the High Court for a hearing sometime in July. But I'm going to take a break and come back, and we're going to continue this conversation. Hello and welcome back to Cover Story. We are really looking at a fire that took place 6 months ago at the Antara Senior Care Services in Greater Kailash. 2 people lost their lives today. We are talking today with one of the families of one of the deceased, Kanchan Arora. The family naturally wants to know what happened. They want answers. The police has filed a charge sheet listing the grandson of one of the people who died, Baba Saheb, whose real name is Varini Dikshit Pradhir Subhag. He has been named as one of the accused. I did reach out to Baba Kumar also. He said that he wanted to come and also meet with the Arora family, but he was not feeling well at that time. So we are going to continue trying talking to him. But in the meanwhile, I do have Mandakini and Vineet with me. Mandakini, before the break, we were talking about what you are going through, and would you like to add something?
Right. And what Vineet says is absolutely right. What is the value of this human life that was lost? Kanchan went in as a resident. We know how she came out. This is also a cautionary tale for people who go into such centers, right? Because the basic premise is safety. If you're in the business of elder care, your focus is on safety. So, okay, the fire, why was our mother alone? Why was she found those bits of body, roasted body parts, as they say? Like, why was she found alone, fallen by the nurse's station? What happened when the fire started? Did smoke detectors and fire alarms sound? Did fire extinguishers work? Did sprinklers go off? I've been in a private home where a grill set off, a barbecue set off fire alarms and sprinklers came down, but you're running a facility that hosts infirm elders, many of them infirm. Were there wheelchairs for evacuation? What were the fire safety protocols, the measures in place, the equipment? What was the emergency equipment and the procedures for such a scenario? Where were the staff who were sleeping on the 3rd floor? Are we to understand that they all ran away because they all escaped? They all got away. So then we are to understand that our mom had to walk. She came out of her room. Why did she even come out? We don't know, because as Vineet says, we haven't been given information. Why did she leave her room? We went to her room later. The whole room was not burnt. So you can imagine our brains are on fire. We've been going nuts thinking of all the scenarios. Would she have survived that she sat in her room? Why this attendant says she knocked on her door, ran down? Why did Ma come out to be met by this wall of fire with no one to save her? So what were the systemic failures? Were there systemic failures, or are there no systems in place? The only reason Ma died is one of these two, right? You can't think of any other. What is the cause of her death? the charge sheet belabors the cause of the fire, but what was the cause of Ma's death? Either systemic failures or the fact that there are no systems in place.
It's important for everyone, I think, to understand why Ma went to Antara. She was invited to Antara by the chairperson of Antara Assisted Care Services. Tara Singh Vachani visited Singapore, found out or sought out my mother via my sister, my eldest sister, met her. Kenneth Sanu was with her at that time. The same person I met on site when I landed, who said he was a director of a group company. Tara Singh Vachani shared with my sister and mother the experience and the vision she has for elder care. And my mother actually came away speaking with my siblings after, thinking that she was an angel. We obviously have a different view of Antara now. There are many questions that we have. Mandakini has listed many of them. I want to point out just something that has struck me in the lack of communication that we've had with them afterwards. They got in touch with us late January to tell us that we were due a refund. There was no cognizance or acknowledgement of any of the valuables that would have been burnt in the fire, suitcases, personal effects, papers, etc. There was no recognition of any of that. But they came to us with an amount that we were due for a refund. They haven't given us an explanation, so we can only guess. But by my calculations, they have charged Ma for the night of the 31st of January. And if this is correct, our mother is burning to death without any care, and Antara's cash machine is taking over. So they are charging her for the night that she was burned to death in Antara. So we're in a battle. We have to, we're not going to get answers from them. We'll only get answers via courts and judgments. But we have to rely on the system of jurisprudence in this country. From what I've heard, things take time in India, but usually justice is served. There is a very strong precedent of a big fire in the city of Delhi many years ago, and there's been a crusade to get justice for those victims. Hopefully, it's a very sad circumstances, but because there are Supreme Court judgments, there are precedents, that gives us something to lean on as we go through this judicial process.
Thank you, Vineeta and Mandakini, for sharing your story. I would also like to tell our viewers that I have been through the charge sheet, and the police, have, done some, they have investigated the fire safety procedures, etc., etc., and they have given Antara a clean chit. But as Vineet says, the matter is in court, and they've also moved the High Court for a writ petition. So we're going to watch that story also very carefully and see what the High Court has to say about the investigation and the way the case is progressing. But I would just like to, I know I'm sorry for making you relive whatever you've been through, but just some final thoughts before we close the show. Mandakini, if you...
Don't apologize for making us relive this. This is, as I said, it's been an unending horror since the 1st of January, or horror. I mean, sorry, I don't mean you, Priya, but nobody can imagine, not nobody, but it's hard to imagine the trauma. It does not go away. And Vineet explained how there could have been different approaches to this from the facility on whose premises our mother was killed. A different scenario could have been played out based on their response, right? In terms of our getting closure, we don't know things. We don't know what time she died. We don't know if why she came out of her room, who saw her last. It's just sub judice police investigation.
Because the outcome of the court proceedings will determine whether, whether they are capable or whether they had the right steps to be in such a serious business. Everyone in all of our lives, we all have our own battles. But this, this is ours. And it's very, very
ours, and we live this horror every day. So don't worry about making me relive it, for example, in talking about it. It's ongoing. It's every day. You wake up in the morning, I go to sleep and I forget. And then my eyes open in the morning and I say, oh yes, Ma burned to death. And then you imagine her walking and you imagine her in flames and you think of the sharir ke buri tarah bhune hue hisse. So it's just ongoing and we're not going to rest. because how can we have closure, right? This was a big and beautiful and precious life.
Your
Yeah.
We just will persist till we get answers. And respect, as Vineet says, the respect that this beautiful human life deserved.
I
your
think
point, Priya, to your point, thank you for carrying this story, because the media, it's almost as if there's been a blackout since the incident. So there's been a reticence on the part of the media, whether it's a story that they think is not in the public interest, doesn't fit with the editorial direction, I'm not sure. So we are grateful that this is a platform which allows us to share our side and build awareness about elder care safety. And we believe that something went wrong at Antara. Otherwise, this should not have happened. And that's why we have questions.
There was some
Thank you.
failures,
Yeah.
perhaps, and it could serve, Ma's death could serve a bigger purpose, in terms of elder care in elder care centers in India.
Yes, I think that is also, the pertinent question, which we will take up later. How safe are, elder care homes, and what all is done and needs to be done. But like I said at the start, our task is not to point fingers or allegations. Even Vineet has said that also, is not to point allegations at anyone, but just to, find out what exactly happened that night. The family wants closure, and I think they do have a right to know that. So I do hope the courts will help and step in and help them find the right answers and get the closure that they do deserve. But once again, thank you both for joining us and sharing with us your pain, your story. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.